Alright, YouTube, today I come to tell you a few things. One is about planned obsolescence, and two is about new refrigerant and what I think it means. The first thing I wanted to point out, this is a deep freezer. Just found it on the side of the road. I like to pick these things up, see if I can fix them. This one leaked out all the refrigerant and the compressor locked up, so it's no good. But I wanted to point this out because this happens a lot in these little chest freezers, little mini fridges, probably some regular size refrigerators too. Manufacturers have planned the obsolescence of these things. They've shortened their lifespan on purpose, and I wanted to point this out to you. Okay, this side of the compressor is your discharge, or your high side. Okay, this is the line that gets hot and it's got the high pressure. This side is your suction. Okay, this is the one that's cold or going to be cooler. And I want you to notice something here. This side, copper. Okay, this side is going to be cold. It's going to be condensing. It's going to be getting wet. Okay, this side is steel. It's not going to be condensing and getting wet, but every single one of these I've ever noticed, there's a problem when you join two dissimilar metals. They corrode. See that? This is all corrosion in here. And from here to here, this joint is corroded. Now this one on the back side, on the expansion device here, this one's really bad. I think this is where it failed at, because it's actually pretty rusty right here. But I see this all the time. And I've actually in the past gone, you know, on like Swip Swap and things to buy a little chest freezer back when I needed one. And there was probably 3 or 4 different people that I went to. And they said, oh yeah, I got a brand new machine. I only used it once. And, you know, it's been sitting in my shed, never been used. And you go to plug it in and the thing doesn't do anything. Doesn't get cold. And they're like, oh, I don't understand. I just bought this and used it once. Well, you know what? This machine right here, this is, you know, we're sitting in August of 2018. I don't know what month, but the production date is on this thermostat. And it's 2017. So this machine is roughly a year old. So it only made it a year before these connections corroded and you lost all the refrigerant. And they've been doing that for years. And it's ticking me off. There's no sense in creating, you know, you want to talk about saving the environment, okay, by creating a new Freon to save the environment. But what about all the greenhouse gases and crap that's produced by having to produce this whole thing here? How much emissions was released by manufacturing this? You know what I'm saying? You know, this wire right here, this coating, I'm sure a lot of toxic chemicals were released doing that. This foam right here, this piece of plastic that's going to be around for thousands of years. How about instead of manufacturing garbage that breaks after a year, you build me another fridge that I can have sitting in my house for 20 years, no problem. You know, that's what really aggravates me about this. They got to take away something that works just fine, which is R134a, and replace it with something that's dangerous. This stuff right here, this is isobutane. 600a is butane. Okay, it's a more refined, but it's the exact same thing that's in your cigarette lighter you use to light your cigarette. That's what's in this thing. Now, granted, there's not a whole lot. There's actually the same amount that's in your cigarette lighter is in here. And that's all it takes to run this whole system. But to me, it's bull crap, because they're saying that they're switching to this. This is a hydrocarbon refrigerant, and it's, you know, not going to hurt the atmosphere. Well, unless I'm wrong, R134a didn't hurt the atmosphere either. Yeah, it produces greenhouse gases, but it doesn't have chlorine in it. It doesn't actually damage the ozone, R134a. So this and R134a still do the same thing. This produces less greenhouse gases. I understand that. But to me, you know, what you're doing is you're increasing the cost for the consumer by doing this, because obviously nobody's ever going to call a technician out to repair this thing, because you buy them for, you know, $150 at Walmart. It dies, you throw it away, because the technician is going to cost you $100 just to show up to your house to diagnose what's wrong with this thing. So you've already spent $100 just to tell you what's wrong with it. Then, like in the case of this, he's going to have to, you know, if I was going to be doing this repair, I would cut both of these ends off, get down to some clean material. Then you're going to have to put you a service port on here, both sides, so you can flow some nitrogen through here, so you can rebraze this stuff here and here. You have to pull a vacuum. You're going to have to recharge it. It's going to cost you more money to fix this than it is to replace it. So that's my biggest beef with this whole thing of, oh, we're going to change refrigerants to save on greenhouse gases and pollution. Like I said, how much greenhouse gases were released in the whole manufacture of this whole unit, the paint on here? You know, how much greenhouse gases was released painting this thing? You know, to me, it's a big scam. So, like I said, increased cost. So let's just say you have a new refrigerator that costs you over $1,000. Well, now it's going to be more cost effective to have the technician repair it. Well, the repairs are still going to cost more. Let's just say you had two identical fridges that cost the same. One's on this new 600A, one's on the old R134A. Well, the new 600A repair is going to cost you more than the R134A repair, because the technician has had all the equipment he's needed to work on R134A for years. Nothing new here. Well, now 600A, everything's new. You can get a 12-ounce can of R134A for $4.50. Okay? A 14-ounce can of R600A is going to cost you $29.95 is what I saw them for. Then you're going to have a new gauge set. You're going to have a new recovery machine. You're going to have a new recovery tank. So all these new tools the technician's going to have to buy to work on this, the cost is going to be deferred to increase prices to the consumer to pay for that. So, you know, I really don't see the advantage of this. Plus, it's flammable. That's the whole biggest thing. Now, is it going to produce a huge fireball? Well, maybe it's a momentary fireball. Just YouTube people throwing lighters, cigarette lighters on fires, and that's what the potential for this does. Now, butane is not like Freon. Freon's lighter than air. Butane is not. So when it leaks out, it's going to fall down to the ground and settle. Now, they've taken other precautions here. They've changed the contactors for the compressor, and they've changed the way the thermostats are built. This is all closed now. There's no open contacts that can spark as an ignition source. Okay? That's great. That's fine. Still, though, in the UK, I've read stories of people having holes blown in their walls, houses caught on fire, and everything else. You know, maybe there's another ignition source. Who knows? But there's definitely an increased potential for fire hazard for having a flammable refrigerant. I don't care what you say. You can make all the changes to this that you want so it itself doesn't catch on fire. But you could have a gas stove with a pilot light sitting right next to this thing. You know, who knows? And then, what about if this has been a refrigerator set up, okay, and you've got a condenser fan over here, it's been blowing dust all over this thing. If it would actually last for 5 years, it would have 5 years of dust caked all over this thing, and most refrigerators have a paper or a cardboard backing on here. That's flammable material. I just don't think it's the greatest idea. But that's what we're being forced to do. We, as a consumer, we really have no say-so. They just do whatever they want, and we just buy it. But I think if enough people would educate themselves and have common sense, and say, hey, wait a minute, I don't want this. I want to buy a new fridge. If we had the ability as a consumer to go to a manufacturer and say, look, I want to buy a new deep freezer. I don't want it with this. I want it with the R134a. If we had to say so, what would they do then? But they're just forcing it on us. Just like everybody's going to see in the future coming up, automotive manufacturers are wanting to change refrigerants because they're phasing out 134a on home refrigeration. They're doing it on automotive refrigeration too. And that new refrigerant, hold on, I got it written down here. I wanted to be a little bit prepared with some facts for you guys. That refrigerant is called R1234YF. Okay, now here's a price comparison for you. That R134A, automotive technicians can buy it in 30-pound cylinders for $100. You can charge dozens of cars with a 30-pound cylinder. Okay, this new R1234YF is for a 30-pound. If you could buy, they sell them in 10-pound cylinders, but it's $1,000 for a 10-pound cylinder. That works out to $100 a pound. So they charge you $100 a pound for refrigerant. So imagine, 16 ounces is a pound. Okay, like my minivan, okay, that thing takes, I want to say, it'd take something like 19 ounces of refrigerant, I want to say. Don't quote me on that. But basically, just for the Freon, if my van lost its charge, it would cost me over $100 just in Freon. Like the days of you going to Walmart or AutoZone and buying one of those cans with the nozzle already on it, you just hook to your car and recharge it yourself, that crap's over with. You can buy one of them cans for what? $20? It's got everything you need in it. It's got the leak stopper and all that junk. Well, you ain't going to be buying that for $20 anymore. Over $100. It's $100 per pound is what the stuff goes for. Then, like I said, the technician's got to have a new gauge set. He's got to have a new recovery machine, recovery tanks, new equipment to work on this new refrigerant. And to me, it's not any better than the R134A. Remember, the purpose of R134A was to replace R12 because R12 contained chlorine. Chlorine depletes the ozone. Okay? There is no more chlorine in R134A. So, the only thing it produces is greenhouse gases. But the new stuff has still got greenhouse gases. They're just less. It still produces greenhouse gases if released in the atmosphere. The R1234YF still produces greenhouse gases. And that's flammable too. Imagine this. Okay, it takes an ignition source to light this stuff. Okay, but in an automobile, okay, you got your evaporator is inside and air blows through it, gets cold and comes out the, vents in your dash blowing on your face or whatever. Well, let's just say your evaporator started leaking in your car while you're driving down the road and you're a cigarette smoker. Now, any kind of propane, they use propane and they use butane in these new refrigerants. But in the manufacturing process, they do not add the sulfur like they do for lighter fluid. Lighter fluid, they add sulfur in the process, manufacturing process, so you can smell if it's leaking. In propane, they add sulfur in the manufacturing process so that you can smell if it's leaking. These refrigerants don't have it. It's not in there. So we're back to driving in your car. Your evaporator gets a hole in it. It's leaking. It's blowing in your face. You don't know it. And you light your cigarette. Well, if your fuel air mixture is correct, that's going to detonate. It's going to light in your face. Now, I don't know what it's going to do. Is it going to be like a blowtorch blowing in your face? Is it just going to go a quick pop? I don't know. But what I do know is it's flammable, and all other refrigerants are not flammable. So basically, you're increasing your potential for a problem. That's all I'm saying. And the benefit of using these, I really can't see the benefit. To me, it's just, all it is just another phase. It's an unnecessary phase, an unnecessary change. We have something that's working just fine. Why change it? Now, if they told me that this refrigerant right here was 100% economic friendly, not going to hurt anything, well then, hey, I understand the change. But the research I've done to this says that this new stuff here still produces greenhouse gases. Granted, it's less than R134a, but it still does. So it's not 100%, environmentally friendly. So what's the point? The R134a it's replacing, R134a doesn't hurt the ozone. That's why they allow you to buy it at Walmart and have the average Joe put it in their car because, it doesn't matter if he takes that whole can and it leaks out the next day into the atmosphere. It's not going to hurt it. That's why they allow it. But this stuff, you're putting something flammable into your house, or into your car. In your car, and you get in, let's just say you get in a front end collision. Now you just busted your condenser. Well, there's a fireball right there. I haven't worked on one of these new cars with that refrigerant. I don't know how many ounces of refrigerant that requires versus the old R134a. But what I do know is it's extremely flammable, and any kind of ignition source will light it off. That's all I'm saying. So I just wanted to bring this to your attention. If you have the option, maybe, there's nothing really much we could do in the home appliance market. But if you're out in the market for a new car, ask them, what kind of refrigerant does the AC use? And if they tell you the new R1234YF, right there, that should be a deal breaker for you. And you should tell that car salesman, you know what? I was just about to buy that car until you tell me that. Now I'm not going to buy it. Do you have any cars that still take the R134A? I'll be interested in buying those. So we might be able to sway it in the automotive market. I don't know if there's much we can do in the home appliance market. Pretty much whatever they have at the store is what they got. But I think we're barking up the wrong tree here, people. I mean, if you step back and look at the big picture of things, 100 years ago in America, when we built something, we designed it to last at least 100 years. Now that's not good enough because companies don't make enough money only selling somebody one refrigerator in their lifetime, one car in their lifetime, one home air conditioner in their lifetime, one ceiling fan in their lifetime. Now we've got to the point where you buy something and it literally doesn't even last a year. That's too much. And you want to talk about saving the planet? Changing refrigerants is not going to save the planet. Getting rid of bull crap like this, purposely making things so they fail, that's what's going to save the planet. Quit creating more plastic. Quit creating things that are just going to end up in a landfill somewhere. That'll save the planet. All right. That's my end of my rant for today.